Salvē, amiche, and welcome. Today we are on John chapter 3, taking a look at verse 36 and finishing off this paragraph. Here is our rubric, everything that we're looking for. Let's go ahead and get started. Qui credit in filium, habet vitam aeternam, qui autem incredulus est, filio non videbit. Filio non videbit vitam. Sed ira Dei manat super eam. That faux pas there will make sense later. Moving over here, qui from qui quae quod. This one can be either the nominative plural or the nominative singular, as we've seen many times before. Credit is it. We've also seen this. I'm just going to pull the parsing here down. And this tells us that qui has to be nominative singular. Who believes or trusts in prepositional phrase with the um right there. So this is accusative, singular masculine. Habet's verb, our prepositional phrase has to end right there. Into son. Habet, et. This is from habet o habere habui. I think it's habui. So this one has to be present, which means I can just pull this down again as the same form, except with an E instead of an I, it being a second conjugation. Has, vitam, am right there is accusative, singular, and not masculine, feminine form. Oh, actually, on that note, I don't remember the last time we talked about this, but as you may recall, my error right there is definitely an error, but there are a few first declension nouns that are masculine, and usually it's occupational nouns such as pirate, farmer, poet, and I think charioteer is another one. And then I can never really remember the rest of them, but there are in classical Latin 6 or 7, and then once you get into church Latin, ecclesiastical Latin, the number increases significantly. Moving on, has life. Aeternam, am there tells us that this adjective is modifying this noun, and it just means what it looks like. Eternal. Qui, again, no need to parse it a second time. Who, autem, means however or but. Incredulus est filio. Us there tells us that this is a masculine, nominative singular masculine, and I think this comes from incredo. No, it can't come from incredo because the ul right there doesn't make any sense. I think this might actually just be a normal adjective. So I'm not going to add any further details here, but in editing, if I can find out information about it, I will put note exactly on whether or not this is a passive periphrastic, not passive periphrastic, a perfect periphrastic with est, or just a normal adjective with est. Leave that in the wind. Est is, of course, third singular and present. Almost wrote down masculine again. It is active and it is indicative. Is incredulous. It could mean incredulous, or it could mean unbelieving. And I don't think there's any further meaning behind that one, but let's move on. We've got filio here, so O could be either a dative or an ablative singular masculine. And with a word like incredulus, especially with this prepositional prefix, it's going to be the dative. A lot of verbs in Latin, and also in Greek, when they have a prepositional prefix, and this also goes for nouns and adjectives, any object involved with that, and est would give incredulus an object after a sort, any object is going to be in the dative case. And can't say that I really know why, but there you have it. So, dative, singular, masculine, and we would say in son, because of the dative nature. Non, not. Videbit, B-I-T, that is a third singular. With the B, it is future tense, and it is active. and indicative. So we will say will not see. I've already got the not there, sorry. See. Vitam, which we saw where right there. Just hold that down. Life. Said, but. Ira de manet, here is our verb. Et, maneo manere manui. And this would mean remain. So it's going to be the same form as we've seen from Habet et al. So just pull that down. Remains. Now we move back here. Ira could be a nominative singular feminine or an ablative singular feminine. It's ira, irai. Dei, in this case, has to be a genitive singular again. Yes, genitive singular. Owning ira. Looking over here, super, prepositional phrase, ends verse 36, so can't be that. Ira, really the only option for it is to be a subject, besides manet doesn't want an ablative in any way. And said prevents it from being part of this clause, and this clause wouldn't want it either. So, nominative singular and feminine, not masculine, but anger or wrath of God remains super, plus the accusative here. And this is singular and masculine because of the am. This is also from is id. And super normally means over, but it can also have the meaning of upon or onto. And super, I'm pretty sure super is one of those prepositions that takes both the ablative and the accusative. And as per usual, ablative just tells us place where. So if we were to see super ao, it would be over him, as in the place over him. But super plus accusative has the motion idea behind it that the accusative often gives. So it'd be to the place over, onto. To the place over, onto would be the meaning there. So I'm going to write both of those down essentially. So over with the idea of to the place over him, or on to him. And since we don't really have motion with remains, we might just want to consider on as a translation for that one. It's a bit weird in English to say onto, but so long as you understand that we've got the idea of motion in the preposition, even though our verb doesn't have it. Okay, let's take a look at it in its own context. Who believes or trusts into Son? Yeah, there's another instance of that, where we don't have a verb of motion, but the preposition gives that idea. I'm going to add the parens here too. So whoever believes in Son has life eternal. Who, however, is unbelieving or incredulous in or of the Son will not see life, but wrath of God remains on or over him. I don't know why I wrote him twice. So yeah, our verse here makes sense, and it's a pretty sad one. Yeesh. So let's go ahead and take a look at this at verse 31. Well, I suppose it's not wholly sad. Well, I'll talk about that in a bit. Who comes from above is above or over all. Who is from earth and speaks from earth. Who comes from sky over all is, or from heaven over all is. And what he has seen and heard, this he asserts or he publishes, and his witness no one accepts. Who accepts his witness? He marks where he indicates that God is truthful or speaking the truth. For whom God sent, he speaks words of God. For God does not give spirit to measure. The Father loves or adores the Son and gave all things in his hand. Who believes in Son has life eternal. However, but who is unbelieving or is incredulous in Son will not see life, but wrath of God remains on him. So, yeah, as I said, it ends on a rather dark note. But we also have this wonderful statement of gospel right here. Who believes in Son has life eternal. So what that's telling us is who believes Jesus died for them, who has shed blood for them, will see life eternal before the face of the Father, which is all that humanity should want, to see God's face. Whereas here, this is the warning to those who do not believe, who does not believe Jesus, who doubts his death on the cross to pay for the sins of all of humanity. Their sins, though paid for, they have rejected salvation, and they are going to forever remain under God's wrath in hell, which is just horrible. But ultimately, it's their fault. Thanks be to God for this part of the verse. So there we have it. I hope this has not been too much of a downer for you. Thank you very much for joining me through chapter 3. And I hope that you continue to join me as we move on into whatever is next. Wale.
Hey, not asleep yet? That's okay. I've got tons of other equally sleep-inducing videos for you to watch. Check them out.